Hello again, ladies and gentlemen, Chaos Wolf here, and welcome back to Elite Dangerous. Today we are going to be having a look at the way that I have my Vulture set up. This is still a very new ship in the game, so a lot of people have been asking me how I actually have mine set up, to how to basically get it to the level of which I have it whilst I'm playing in my videos. And what I'm going to do is we'll have a look over in the outfitting department to see how I have this set up. Now, before we go any further from here, I will hasten to point out, as I'm sure it's becoming ever so apparent to people who are buying this ship and trying to upgrade it for the first few times, that the power output of the generator in this ship is woefully underwhelming. We spent 5 million on the stock ship, and with it fully upgraded to the top power plant, we're still only getting 15.6 megawatts available, and that is really not all that much for a ship this size, especially with 2 class 3 hardpoints. No, this is woefully underwhelming. So this is one of the first times that I've ever had a ship where I've had to make drastic sacrifices to actually get things that I want in a ship. But before we get a little bit more into that, we'll have a look at what weapons that I have mounted here. As you've seen already, no doubt, I have one E3 pulse laser gimbaled, because you can go for fixed and they'll probably be it'll be a lower power draw, but the problem is I can't aim all that well with fixed weapons, so it just doesn't work for me, so I always go for gimbaled. And on the other side I have a gimbaled frag cannon. Now, originally I wasn't too keen on the idea of this weapon, because for this weapon to be of any real use, you have to get almost point blank for it to do its maximum potential amount of damage. And with most other ships that I've played, that getting up close and personal was a challenge. Not so in the Vulture. The Vulture is it's not the fastest ship out there, but it's fast enough. And couple that with its amazing maneuverability, and you can fly rings around other ships. There's just no contest there. But yeah, so that basically makes the frag cannon a very viable weapon on this ship. The main downside to the frag cannon is its very limited ammo capacity. It carries a grand total of 33 shells, and considering that it can fire up to bursts of up to three shots per burst, so basically going boom boom boom, then you basically are only going to be pulling the trigger about 11 times before you have to go back and reload. So this was not the best weapon for when I was playing in the conflict zones. So instead I swapped it out for a second pulse laser, just so I could have a much greater staying power. But with only having one pulse laser, if I have 3, maybe 4 pips into weapons, I can fire this constantly and not have to ever wait for it to cool down. It can fire constantly. It might be able to do it very close to on 2 pips. I'm not sure. I haven't checked it as yet. Yeah, we covered the frag cannon. Next thing I have is a chaff launcher, because if you don't have a chaff launcher, you're a sitting duck most of the time. No, people are always going to be able to hit you. And if you're facing against somebody like me who can't use fixed weapons all that well, then chaff launchers can be a lifesaver. I never really used to use them until I got into a little bit of combat with another player, and at that point I just learned their the value of a chaff launcher, let's say. I learned that the hard way. The next thing I have is one E-rated shield booster. I'd love to go for more, but unfortunately, as we've seen, power is not a premium on this ship. I'm already over my maximum power allowance, but the way I have my my ship set up, it allows me to get away with that, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Next thing, kill warrant scanner. This ship is a dedicated combat, and if you're going to be doing bounty hunting, a kill warrant scanner is, well, it's not a necessity, but it is very, very nice to have. At the last slot, originally I did have a heatsink launcher here, but ever since I upgraded my my power distributor to the best power distributor, I didn't have the power available to actually run this extra slot, so unfortunately I had to get rid of it. But I've never really had much of a trouble with overheating anyway, so there was no point in keeping it. The only time this would ever actually be of any use is if I flew too close to a star, and I don't do that all that often. But anyway, that's the hard points covered. Let's go and have a look at the internals. Now, as always, I've only got the military grade composites. I'm still not sure which are the two better ones, which are the two better. Well, the other two armors would be better. I don't know whether to go for the reactive or the reflective. I don't know which would be better, so I'm sticking with the military grade at the moment, just so as I can be confident in how much damage I'm going to be taking. Obviously, A1 power plant, because you cannot have anything less. I mean, let's just have a look. Class descending. B4 power plant takes me down to 14.3. C4 13, D4 11.7, and the standard E4 10.4. Yeah, if you want to fly this ship with any seriousness, you need the best power plant. There's no two ways about it. Thrusters, I've gone for the A5s, although considering that this ship is extremely manoeuvrable, you can get away with the B5s, but I just wanted the extra bit of manoeuvrability. Commander Embryo, whose live stream I join quite regularly, he flies around with only the B5 thrusters, and he is perfectly fine and still extremely manoeuvrable with that. Frameshift drive, I have obviously gone for the A4, although if I was just playing locally and only wanted to stay in one system or a couple of systems, I'd knock that down to maybe keep it as the E-rated one, maybe, because if you're not planning to jump around too much, you might as well just downgrade that to give you more available power, because that is a very big power sink. I mean, let's have a look. Class descending. The further down I go, the more power I am available to. I could go all the way down to an E2, and that would pretty much just knock me down a fair amount of power. So it almost frees up, let's see, yeah, over a megawatt. So that could be very viable if you were just planning to stay in system. But be warned, you would not be able to go very far. I mean, let's just take another quick look at that. If we go all the way down to that, wow, you've got an amazing jump range of less than a light year. But it's all about the power, really. So not something I would recommend, but if you are only planning to stay in system, it might be an option. Life support, I just stick with E3 because, as I said, there's not enough power to go around. And I don't see the point in it much myself. Because if I get my canopy blown out, I'm most likely close to a station. So I'm usually fine. Power distributor, I've gone for the A. Up until recently I was running with the B 5s, but I've just upgraded to the A5 because I can boost more often. And I don't need to put as many pips into my weapons to keep my pulse lasers from firing constantly. I still haven't tested that fully, so I don't know the optimal settings there, but I'll look at that at a later time. Now, sensors are the only thing that I've really considered upgrading. There's nothing else here to have a look at. But I upgraded it to a D because I wanted to increase my sensor range, and it also because I went to the Ds, it lowers the weight of my ship, making it more manoeuvrable. Fuel tank, haven't really changed that. Shield generator, I'm running the B5. Now, even though I'm only running a B-rated shield generator and not an A-rated, I have never had any problems with the shields on this ship. Especially considering that I have the one shield booster. So, if I had an A-rated shield cell even, sorry, not shield cell, shield generator, that's the one I'll get there in the end. I imagine I could quite happily sit in the middle of 3 or 4 anacondas taking me on. Obviously not focusing me, but you know what I mean. And basically, to back up the shields, the amazing shields, I've gone for a shield cell bank in the next largest slot. So I've got a B4 shield cell bank. Now, the reason I went for a B4 and not an A4 is a twofold reason. Firstly, there are more uses. You get more uses out of a B-rated shield cell than you do an A-rated. Now, this does show because the B-rated is a lot heavier. You sometimes they're about 50% heavier than an A-rated shield cell. But you get a couple more uses out of it. Obviously, each use is less of a smaller amount refilling your shields. But I'd rather have the more amounts than lesser, better amounts. And the other reason is, as always, we don't have enough power. Next one's a fuel scoop. This doesn't take any power, I don't think. Let's double check. Oh, it does. It takes a little bit of power. But if I wanted, I could ditch the fuel scoop if I was staying in system. But I like to move around a lot. And basically a fuel scoop is a necessity in this ship. So I went for the A2, the biggest one that I could fit without going into the 4-rank slot, which I've used for the shield cell bank. Now this, you may think, is a bit of an odd choice, the Advanced Discovery Scanner. But there is a method behind my madness here. And that is, sometimes when I'm jumping around from one part of the galaxy to the next, looking for community events, or even looking for more conflict zones or resource extraction sites, I come into systems that have not been scanned. And because I don't know what on earth is there, I'll just throw off the Discovery Scanner, then I'll be able to look in the system map, make an assessment as to what's there, decide whether or not I'm going to have a look around more thoroughly in that system or not. I don't use it for exploration or anything specifically. I don't use it actively for exploration. It's mainly just so I know what's in the system, if I want to actually stay there or not. And the last one is a frameshift drive interdictor, because I do a lot of bounty hunting. This is a combat ship. If I spot a big bounty in Super Cruise, I want the ability to pull it out and claim the reward. So yeah, this is the way I have my ship set up. And as we've touched on, I'm already over a megawatt over my maximum allowed usage. But what we'll do is we'll have a look in a moment to how I have my power management set up. So we'll go back, quit out of here, and what we'll do is we'll launch, just so we can have a little bit more of an in-depth look at the power management. Because as good as it is, you can't really see it all that well from in the docking bay.
Ship released. Engines engaged.
So let's just lift up a little bit, retract the landing gear, and what we'll do is we'll have a look over onto the modules tab. Now let's put everything back on. I keep forgetting to turn these back on again. Cargo hatch and frame shift. There we go. I was just doing some testing with my power levels and forgot to change them back. Now, as you can see, almost everything on this ship is set to priority 1, apart from the fuel scoop, the frame shift drive, the cargo hatch, and is there anything else? No, just those. And what that does is, if I turn off the cargo hatch, the frame shift drive, and the fuel scoop, that takes me down to 98% power usage. So what that basically means is, if I turn them all back on, you can see at the bottom that I am on 107% maximum power usage, which means I'm 7% over my maximum power usage. But what happens is, because I've set all those systems to priority 2, when I actually pull my weapons out like this... Oh, wrong one. Wrong button. There we go.
Power plant capacity exceeded.
There we go. It says we've gone past our maximum power usage. But what it's done is it's actually turned off the anything that's marked as priority 2. So my cargo hatch is not working, which doesn't matter because I have no cargo space. I have no frame shift drive now, and I have no fuel scoop. Now, the cargo hatch is not a problem because, as I said, I have no cargo space. Fuel scoop I can only use in Super Cruise anyway. The only minor issue here is the frame shift drive. And what that means is, as soon as I put my... It basically means I can't start... Obviously, you can't start charging your frame shift with your weapons out anyway. But the only issue is if I put my weapons back in, as you can see, my weapons are in, my frame shift drive's still not back up yet. So you've got to wait for a minute. There we go. It takes a little while for the frame shift drive to recharge and come back online. So you have to bear that in mind if you have it set up the way I do, with the frame shift drive on secondary priority. So if you're in conflict zones or if you're in combat, try and plan ahead. And if you are, if the fight is turning south, bear that in mind and basically leave the fight that little bit earlier, just so you don't end up getting blown up waiting for your frame shift drive to come back online. But yeah, anyway, that's pretty much how I have my ship set up. You've seen some combat videos of me. My last one was me actually flying around in this ship with the same set. Actually, it wasn't the same setup. I still had 2 beam lasers at that point. But I'm probably going to do another video, possibly in some kind of combat with this ship, before I actually move off and do what I'm planning to do next. Which is, I'm going to go rebuy my ASP, and I'm going to go off and basically see how far I can get out. I'm going to go and do some exploring. It might take a while, so I'm going to start doing a little exploring series. And I hope that'll be enjoyable to you guys. But anyway, as to now, I hope this video has been useful to you guys and given you some more insights into the Vulture. I hope you have found it entertaining and useful. And if so, please do consider hitting that like button. It really does help me out. And I always appreciate every like I get. Not only that, but also please do consider hitting that subscribe button to get updates from whenever I release new videos. And anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, keep flying and stay shiny.